Hello and welcome to Understanding Anxiety with Neil Robson. I'm a hypnotherapist at Faversham Hypnotherapy, where I work with people both online and here in Kent. I help people understand and overcome anxiety, panic attacks and overthinking. And today I want to talk to you about something that almost everyone with anxiety does. They do it without realising it. It's something that feels helpful to them. It feels a sensible thing to do. It feels the responsible thing to do. And yet it can quietly become one of the biggest reasons that anxiety sticks around. And I'm talking about reassurance. Now, reassurance isn't a bad thing. If you've had a difficult day, someone tells you everything is going to be okay, that's part of being human. We all need reassurance from time to time. The problem begins when reassurance becomes something your anxious brain starts depending on, because anxiety only really has one goal. It wants certainty. It wants to know that nothing bad is going to happen. It wants some sort of guarantees. And the difficulty is that life doesn't come with those guarantees. And that's where the trap begins. So think about the last time anxiety really got a hold of you. You might have noticed a strange sensation in your body. You might have noticed that your heart might have skipped a beat. You might have felt a bit dizzy. Maybe you suddenly thought, what if something is seriously wrong with me? And then what happened next? Did you reach for your phone? Did you Google your symptoms? You might have asked your partner or friend if you looked all right. You might have checked your pulse. Did you tell yourself, just one more search and then I'll stop? So almost everyone with anxiety has done something similar, because in that moment, reassurance feels like the answer. You search and you check and you ask, and someone tells you you're fine. The doctor reassures you. Your friend or partner says you look okay. Google eventually convinces you it's probably anxiety. And for a while, you feel better. You relax a bit. Your breathing starts to settle. The fear begins to disappear. And it's a relief. And because it feels so good, your brain pays attention. It starts to learn. But here's the part most people don't really realise. Your brain doesn't learn that you were safe. It learns something very different. It learns that there must have been some sort of danger, because you needed reassurance before you could relax. And that one lesson can change everything. Instead of teaching your brain that the sensation wasn't dangerous, you've accidentally taught it that reassurance is what keeps you safe. Now, the next time you feel anxious, what do you think your brain is going to tell you to do? It's going to tell you to find reassurance. Check again, just to be certain. And that's how the cycle quietly grows stronger. It's got nothing to do about being weak. It's got nothing to do about, doing something silly. It's because your brain is doing exactly what brains are designed to do. They're constantly learning from experience. Every time something reduces fear, the brain stores that away. That worked. Do it again. The trouble is, what works in the short term isn't always what helps in the long term. Reassurance is a perfect example of that. It reduces anxiety today, but increases the need for reassurance tomorrow. And that's why reassurance never seems to last. You might feel calmer for 10 minutes, perhaps an hour, sometimes a day. Then a new thought will appear. But what if this time it's different? What if they miss something? What if I didn't explain my symptoms properly? What if I searched the wrong thing? And suddenly, you're back exactly where you started. Not because the anxiety was right, but because your brain never had the chance to learn that it could cope without reassurance. And that's the trap. And once you see it, you begin to understand why anxiety can seem so relentless. So let's look at how this shows up in everyday life. For some people, reassurance is all about health. They notice a headache and immediately wonder if there's something wrong, if it's serious. They might feel their heart beating a little faster than usual and begin checking their pulse. And perhaps they search online for symptoms, read medical websites, or convince themselves that they just need another appointment with their doctor. The reassurance comes, the tests are normal, they're told everything looks good, and for a while they feel calmer. Then a few days later, they notice a different sensation, a tingling in the arm, a pain in the chest, feeling a bit dizzy. And the whole cycle starts again. It isn't because they're imagining the symptoms. The symptoms are real. But the meaning they've attached to them is driven by anxiety. For someone else, reassurance might be about relationships. They send a message to a friend, 10 minutes pass without a reply. Immediately the mind begins asking questions. Have I upset them? Did I say something wrong? Are they ignoring me? And when the reply finally arrives, there's relief. They're not annoyed at all. But notice what happens. The next time someone takes a while to reply, the anxiety returns just as strongly. Nothing's actually changed because reassurance solved the feeling. It didn't change the belief underneath. The same thing happens at work. You finish a piece of work and immediately wonder whether you've made a mistake. You read the email again and again. You check every word. Then perhaps you ask a colleague, does this sound right? They tell you it's fine. And for a little while, you feel confident until the next email. Then the doubt returns. Another form of reassurance can be much quieter. Many people replay conversations in their minds. You get home from seeing friends and suddenly start analysing everything you said. Should I have said that? Did I sound stupid? I wonder if they were offended. And you replay the conversation looking for evidence that everything was okay. And sometimes you ask someone who was there, did I sound all right? Again, the reassurance helps, but only temporarily. One of the most common forms of reassurance today is something previous generations never had. Google. It's available 24 hours a day. If you're worried about a symptom, Google has the answer, right? If you're worried about a thought, Google has thousands of opinions. If you're worried about your relationship, Google has endless articles. The problem is that anxiety doesn't use Google to become informed. It uses Google to become certain. And certainty is something Google can't really provide. In fact, the more you search, the more information you're going to find. Some of it's going to be reassuring, some of it's going to be frightening. Your anxious brain naturally pays attention to the frightening information, not because you're negative, but because an anxious brain is designed to notice possible danger. And this is something that's called confirmation bias. When your brain thinks something might be wrong, it starts collecting evidence to support that belief. It overlooks the reassuring evidence and focuses on the tiny possibility that confirms its fear. Imagine standing in a huge library. 99 books tell you you're safe. One book tells you something terrible could happen. An anxious brain walks straight past the 99 safe books and picks up the frightening one. Not because it's irrational, but because it's trying to protect you. Your brain would rather prepare you for danger that never happens than miss one that does. Thousands of years ago, that kept humans safe and alive. Today, it often keeps people anxious. The difficult part is that reassurance feels like the obvious solution. If I'm frightened, Surely I should make myself feel better. And that makes complete sense. But here's the question I'd like you to think about. Has reassurance actually cured your anxiety? Or has it simply given you a short break before the next worry arrived? For most people, the honest answer is the second one. And that's because reassurance treats the alarm. It doesn't teach the brain that the alarm wasn't needed in the first place. And until the brain learns that lesson, it will continue pulling the alarm whenever it thinks there might be danger. So, if reassurance is part of the trap, what can you do instead? So the first thing I'd like to say is this: please don't expect yourself to stop seeking reassurance overnight. If you've been doing it for months or even years, it's become your brain's way of trying to protect you. You don't need to criticize yourself for that. In fact, the more you understand why your brain does it, the kinder you'll probably become towards yourself. The goal isn't to fight your anxious brain. The goal is to teach it something new. So let's imagine a child who's frightened of dogs. Every time they see a dog, someone immediately picks them up and carries them away. The child feels safer. But what does the child learn? They learn that dogs really must be dangerous because every time one appears, they have to escape. Now imagine a different approach. The child stays where they are with someone calm beside them. Nothing bad happens and the dog walks past. Slowly, over time, the child's brain starts learning a new lesson. Perhaps dogs aren't as dangerous as I thought. Your anxious brain works in a very similar way. Every time you immediately seek reassurance, your brain misses the opportunity to discover that the feeling would have settled on its own. That doesn't mean you should ignore genuine medical symptoms or real problems. If something is new or severe, or you're advised to seek medical help, then of course you should. What we're talking about here is the repeated search for certainty when anxiety is already driving the questions. So one way to begin changing the pattern is simply to pause. Next time you notice the urge to Google, to ask someone, or to check your body, don't tell yourself you must never do it again. Instead, just wait. Perhaps wait 5 minutes. Notice what happens. You might discover that the urge rises and then begins to fall. The important thing isn't whether the anxiety disappears immediately. It's that your brain starts collecting a different experience. Instead of learning, I can only cope if I get reassurance, it begins learning, I felt anxious and I coped anyway. And that's a completely different lesson. Another question I often encourage people to ask themselves is, am I looking for information or am I looking for certainty? Information can be helpful. Certainty is impossible. If you're looking for absolute certainty, anxiety will always move the goalposts. You'll get one answer, then immediately need another one. You'll solve one worry, only for the next one to appear. Because anxiety isn't really asking questions, it's looking for a feeling, the feeling of safety. And the trouble is, no amount of checking can create that feeling for very long. Real confidence comes from something different. It comes from discovering that you can cope with uncertainty. And that doesn't happen in one day. It happens one small decision at a time. Every time you resist the urge to check immediately, every time you allow a question to remain unanswered for a little longer, every time you notice anxiety without rushing to fix it, you're teaching your brain a new way of responding. And brains are brilliant at adapting. They learn through repetition. Just as anxiety became a habit, calm can become one too. So I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Imagine someone you care about deeply, a close friend, a son or daughter, a partner. If they came to you feeling anxious, would you criticise them for needing reassurance? No, of course not. You'd probably speak gently, you'd be patient, you'd understand that they were frightened. So here's my question. Can you offer yourself that same kindness? Because recovery isn't about becoming fearless. It's about learning to respond to fear differently, one gentle step at a time. So thank you for spending this time listening to this today. I hope this episode has helped you understand why reassurance can feel so helpful in the moment, yet quietly keep anxiety going in the background. And if it has, I'd really appreciate it if you followed the podcast and shared this episode with someone who might need to hear it. So for more practical help, keep listening to Understanding Anxiety with Neil Robson. And if you'd like one-to-one support, I work with clients online and from my practice at Faversham Hypnotherapy in Kent. So until next time, stay well.